Hello everybody!
Hello!
Welcome to Millionaire Whisperer channel. So today we are back again after a long break, but we're so excited because the next few months we're going to have a lot of launches happening in Core Central. And today we'll be focusing on the only freehold Core Central launch in 2025, and this is none other than the project called Robertson Opus. Alright,
yes.
And so before we deep dive into River Valley, before we deep dive into Robertson Opus, today we want to look at a very important question, Victor, which is it even worth investing or buying a Singapore property today? Because I'm sure many of the audience out there, they are very concerned that will the price drop, and like I wouldn't want to buy into something that is not profitable.
Yeah, I believe that audience out there, you also have this concern, right? So what I want you guys to do now, right, is to indicate below in the comments box, share with me how much you think property prices will drop this year. Just comment, just feel free to write whatever you want to write. I won't laugh at you, okay guys? Yeah, just write.
Alright, let's visit the history of Singapore Price Index.
Yeah, so if you look back in 1995, that's probably when your grandfather is born, not your grandfather, your parents is born at that point of time, 30 years back, right? You realize that every drop
not
per
grandfather lah, that's 30 years ago only.
Yeah. You realize that the drop is probably only about 8% per year. But if you were to fast forward things a bit, you realize that the drop is probably only about a -1%, -2%. So dear audience, if you look back 3 decades ago, right, you realize that the prices, it drops by almost about 20%. But if you realize that...
Scary bro.
Yeah, scary, right? Yeah, so this is actually during the Asia financial crisis. But actually, if you look back, right, in recent times, right, it's not as bad as what we think. You can see that even though there's a drop, but the drop was maximum probably only about
1 year 4%.
Yeah, 1 year.
And this actually happened in the year 2013. So what actually happened in the year 2013?
The government, they actually instill cooling measures. So if you were to do a count, they actually instill about almost 16 rounds of cooling measure. This was actually one of the most harshest cooling measure that the government has implemented, which is what we call the TDSR. So you realize that in this period of time, the prices actually dropped by almost about 11%. But after a while, all of us should be thinking, why is it that during COVID period, right, the prices did not drop, but in fact, right, they only dropped by about 1%. But after COVID, you realize that the prices in fact went up even more, by almost 5 to 6%. So again, Joe, do you know why is it that the government is doing all these things?
To make the environment very safe.
Yes, correct. So our government is very, very safe. So the moment when your prices go up by a little bit, next moment, the Zeng will come after you already. Alright, they will make sure that, right, prices in Singapore must remain resilient and affordable.
So before we talk about should we even enter Robertson Opus, should we even take a look at some of the CCR properties, first and foremost, we want to take a look, is it even worth investing into Singapore property? Like, is Singapore property market still safe for us to put our hard-earned money into it?
Yes.
So I know that many of the audience out there, you're very concerned. I also can see lah, you also can see, right? And we are scared that the property market will drop like a 5%, 10% on a per year basis. So let's look at the history of Singapore Property Price Index. Has this actually happened before? Actually have lah. The truth is, during the Asian financial crisis, right, we are talking about on a per year basis, right, it dropped 20%. It's very scary leh. Yeah, so it's really scary. But if we look at in the more recent times, which is in the year 2013, we all know what happened, right? In the year 2013, what actually happened?
TDSR.
So for the first time, right, if you're actually looking to buy a property, the important thing is you actually have to get your total debt servicing ratio check, and then your agent will be asking you what's your age, what's your income, to make sure you truly can afford. And second thing that happened very significantly in the year 2013 is
2013 was the TDSR, right?
Yes. And also the ABSD was introduced. Even for many of the people that have the liquidity to enter a second property, most of the time we would not, because nobody wants to really donate 20% to a government body. We wouldn't want to do that. And as a result, right, the property market has been kept very, very safe. If you were to recall, right, even in the year 2020, during COVID, when we are all locked up at home, the property price only dropped 1%. Why is that so? Because all the speculators, right, have been almost eliminated after 2013 cooling measure. I remember that we were zooming so much at home, right, and speaking to potential buyers to consider enter the market. You know what is the scary thing? For people who choose not to enter the market, the property price actually rose 30% the next 3 years. In fact, what was actually 1 million would become 1.3. What was 2 million would have become 2.6. So what I want to assure all the audience out there is, I don't think we will really see 10% per annum this kind of growth already. But what the government wants to do is that property grow consistently at 5 to 8% per annum, so that you and I still got some money to make, and it's a very stable growth.
And very safe,
But there is something really strange that have been observing in the Singapore market, right, in this 1-2 years. So maybe Victor, you'd like to share with us a little bit more what has happened to the Singapore property market.
Yeah, so what happened was that when I actually bought my first OCR property, which is about 12 years ago, I bought my Caspian at 1.3 million. And at that point of time, the gap between OCR, which is Caspian, versus a property in River Valley, District 9,
Easily
CR,
$1 million,
was easily a 1 million gap, guys. 1 million gap today. But if you fast forward everything, today if you look at a 3-bedroom in Lakeside,
the latest government land sale, right? We're expecting a 3-bed to be probably 2.4
million. And if you look into the CCR 3-bedder, you can easily get something like 2.8 million. So guys, do you realize that how safe it is? Do you realize that the gap has become much and much more narrower?
Yeah, so actually, in fact, to give a very concrete number to it, the gap has narrowed all the way from 30% between CCR and RCR to a mere 5% gap. So if today, if you're considering certain city fringe areas like Toa Payoh, Queenstown, if you just top up just a little bit more, 5% more, you can even be at the prestigious Core Central region. All right, so now let's just bring you through some of the prices that have happened. So to make it easier for the audience to understand, we're going to take a look at some of the OCR prices, which is of course in Victor's backyard in this
Clementi area. Even today, if you look at Clementi, a 2-bedroom will have cost you about 2.2 million. And if you were to go into the out of Clementi area, which is the Jurong East has already hit almost up to 2.3 million for a 2-bedder. Wow. Oh my goodness. And if you're looking more into the RCR area, which is in District 15 freehold, it has hit up to almost about 2.4 to 2.5 million. Even if you're looking into our famous Continuum, this is a mega project, freehold, District 15. It has also gone up to almost about 2.2 to 2.3 million. And last but not the least, if you go into Amber Park, this is a resale, almost about 3 years old. People has already accepted 2.2, 2.3 million for a resale property like this.
And sometimes we think that, hey, perhaps we may be able to get a good buy in the resale market. So we actually take a look at some of the resale properties, like for example, Martin Place, Rivergate, the Pier at Robertson, Martin Modern, which is a 99-year property, and also UE Square. If we were to take a closer look at some of the resale CCR properties, right, it's quite scary too, because we actually see people paying almost $3 million for a 2-bed in Martin Place, in Rivergate, the Pier. And even for a 99-year property, right, a 2-bed quantum is almost 2.5 mil today. Let's take a closer look, right, into some of the resale property to see, like, would it really be worth buying? Okay, so we took a deeper dive into this 2-bed in Martin Place residence. And of course, in way back in 2009, the first owner paid only 1.5 million
really cheap
for a 2-bed. So what can we buy for $1.5 million today?
Wow, we can now easily buy a
area lah.
Jurong lor. You want to come Jurong, can, no problem. You can
Sora
get a 2-bedroom.
Lake Garden, you can probably get that. That really even emphasize more why you should be taking a position in Core Central properties. What you can actually buy today, right, in town, you can only end up buying what is outside Core Central region tomorrow. So coming back to this Martin Place unit, the first owner bought at $1.5 million and sold it 2 years later to the second owner at $2 million. And after a good 13 years, sold it now for 2.73. Wow, bro. If I am the person that bought at
I wish you all the
price,
best.
thanks. Thanks for wishing me all the best, because a bit risky lah. Because if we were to actually check the people that bought first hand, they bought almost half of your current price. So in the event when the market is not so good, they can easily run at 2 million, 2.5 million, 2.6 million, but you cannot lah, because you bought at 2.7 million. Alright? So that's just something to take note of. But the floor plan is really not too bad, you know, bro, for this 2-bed. What do you think of it?
Wow, I think the balcony is even bigger than the combine of the bedrooms. It's really big.
But of course, we need to understand in the past, if you were to be taking a look at some of the 2-bed layout, right, you probably have to be paying for bay window, which these days you don't have to pay for all this wasted space. And let's take a deeper dive into a 2-bed in Rivergate. Wow, this is really awesome. Why is it that I want to talk about it? First owner bought in 2006 at 1.3 mil. Today, almost 20 years later,
oh my goodness,
this is what the new gen calls sick.
Wow,
because
this
a
is
2-bed, they are making almost $2 million. Have you heard of this before?
Never in the history of real estate.
Bro, so I think it's time that you buy a property for your 3 children each. I think it's worth the money.
I think next time they won't be able to afford already. Yeah.
Yes, and let's take a look at the pier. This is really interesting. I want to talk about it because same thing, the last owner actually bought at $3 million. So this property has actually changed hands 5 times. First owner bought it at $1 million in the year 2003, sold it a few years later at $2.3 million.
Wow.
And after that, what happened?
Wow, after that they sell at a loss. So Joe, do you want to be the first mover or do you want to buy from the first owner? Which one is safer?
I'm gassy one, okay? Usually I want to keep my risk low, so I prefer to enter properties where I enter almost the same price as everybody else. So this is actually a very good example to show to the audience out there that can one consider resale? I think it is possible if you really need the place right now. Maybe you really want a slightly bigger space, but you need to know you are likely signing up for risk because you likely have to be paying twice of the first owner pricing, which the first owner has all the buffer to be selling at the various exit point, but you can't, because you enter much higher. Let's take a look at Aspen Heights, which is also a pretty old property in the River Valley Belt. But when I saw the 1-bed pricing, I almost burst out laughing.
Wow, it's almost close to 2 million. Oh my God, Joe, 1 bedroom for 2 million.
Yep. So what do we need to understand about entering into the resale market, right? A lot of times we may think that, hey, the PSF perhaps is lower and perhaps it's more worth buying a resale property. What's your take on that?
Some people, they prefer to go for resale, but again, today we have to be very careful in the price that we enter at. The thing is that if we enter high, no one can actually tell you how much you can exit. Nobody wants to sell at a loss. Everybody wants to actually exit at the same price.
And I think another thing that the audience probably have to consider is the affordability. If today you are entering a 2-bed, you pay almost $3 million, your next buyer would probably have to buy from you at 3.5 in order to make some sense for you.
And this is an old property.
And this is a 2-bed. Would it be easier to enter today a brand new property, $2 million, about the same quantum, and exit perhaps at the 2.5, 2.6, which is more affordable for your next buyer if you're thinking to exit? If you were to take a look at the newest freehold property in River Valley, which is Avenir, you will realize that same thing, people have paid almost 2.8, 2.9 for a 2-bed condo. Alright, so the key question today is, what if you can actually get a premium property without paying a premium?
I will go for the premium. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to give you a very quick introduction about this project called Robertson Opus.
Actually, I'm very perplexed with what's the inspiration behind this name Opus?
It's a combination of the Latin word magnum and opus. It's actually used to describe a writer, artist, or composer's great work. It's a masterpiece.
Alright, so in fact, the tagline for Robertson Opus is a masterpiece in a century and a legacy for life.
Correct. Okay, so some rapid facts about Robertson Opus. Okay, is consists of 348 units and a total of 26 units of shops as well. So in this development, you have a mixture of the suites, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, and 4 bedroom. Expected TOB will be in 2023. 30 second quarter.
Alright, so today we will be focusing more on just the 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom. If you are interested in the 4-bedroom, feel free to contact us as the contact above, and we will be glad to give you a free analysis more about the bigger 4-bed and also the 1-bed as well. So let's take a look at this location. The location is fantastic.
Yes.
You get to enjoy all the eateries around, and personally, I really love this Robertson Quay area. Today we'll be talking more about the two most preferred layout in Robertson Opus.
Okay, the 2-bedroom size is 721 square feet. So if you were to walk in straight away, you don't get an open kitchen. But what I like most about this is that you get a nice enclosable kitchen. And if you walk in a little bit, you still have a space for your dining. Over here, for the 2 bedrooms, they can actually fit in comfortably a queen size or even a king size bed. So I think this kind of layout, I should say that is very efficient, okay, compared to all the other older resale condos.
I think there's really nothing much to really complain about this layout. You actually have window at the bathroom, window at your master bath, you have window even at the kitchen. It's almost one of the more perfect layout one can find in today's market. Taking a look at the other 2-bed plus study, which is the B7 layout, almost similar to what we have, the 2-bed, 2-bath earlier. Only difference is over here, your kitchen, you do not have a window, but not a very big deal breaker. Alright, tell us a little bit more about this C3 layout.
Wow, the rooms are all comes with very good size, but what I like most is the flexi room, because for this flexi room, you can double up as a helper's room, or you can even use it and convert it to a study room or a recreation room yourself.
Actually, this layout is quite good because if you actually have a helper, the flexi room will likely be your helper's area, and this helper has a proper room in with window. And we're going to take a look at the next layout, which is also one of my favorite. This is actually the C3S layout. The only difference with what we have earlier is there is a flexibility to remove the wall between your flexi room and the dining area, making it a bigger dining space. So if you're actually somebody that like to host a lot and you actually want to have a 6-seater or even up to an 8-seater, this layout will allow you to do so. Alright?
Very usable.
But there are some layout I don't quite like, and I would like to share with you my views about this. This is actually the C6 layout.
Yeah, correct.
Tell me a bit more. What's the inspiration behind this?
Okay, Joe, I feel that for this layout, right, it looks a bit like a dual key kind of
almost.
Yeah. So I feel that this kind of layout, right, generally, right, it will not be so suitable, right, for family stay. But if you're looking maybe more into partitioning out a bedroom just for rental, I think it's feasible lah.
Because I really don't like the open concept kitchen. Although this kitchen comes with it a window as well, but really not my most preferred. Alright?
Yeah.
There is another 3-bed premium layout. I personally do not like this 3-bedroom layout as well. For the slightly bigger families, they will likely go for this premium layout because there is a bomb shelter on top of the flex. So for people that actually have a helper and you still need a storeroom, this will be likely one of the more feasible layout. So what is it that I do not like about it is, if I actually have a helper, it leaves me a little no choice but to put the helper in the bomb shelter.
Wow, this is something that I think is not so ideal, right, Joe?
This is number one. If not, my option 2 is that my helper will actually be in the room just next to me at the master. I prefer the helper's room is not so near to the master room. This is my personal. With this Robertson Opus, right? So what do we really want to share with the audience is this. What can we actually explore doing? So maybe today you are already a property owner, perhaps in the city fringe area. It's either you're very happy staying there or you're very happy being a landlord collecting rental, and you'll be thinking, no, I just want to continue to do this. I don't want to get into another property already. So what do you have to share up with the audience?
Maybe you can consider going for a property swap. So I think today probably your rental for a 2-bedroom, maybe it's about 4,000. So you can probably go for something that is maybe more into the hall central area, giving you a higher rental. So I think in that case, right, actually don't you think that the property is actually working harder for you in that case?
Yes. I wouldn't mind using the same amount of money without touching my savings, right, to earn higher rental. And what is undisputable, right, is definitely rental in call central is definitely higher than city fringe or even the OCR. That could be one thing you can consider doing. And the second thing you can consider doing is if today you hold a city fringe 99-year leasehold property or you hold a OCR leasehold property, perhaps it may be time to consider swapping to a freehold property without paying a premium.
Yeah, I do agree with you because some 99 years property, they are really old in the sense that they have probably passed the 30 years mark. So at that point of time, probably the lease is a bit, the growth is not there, it's not growing anymore. So I think a good strategy would be always to swap into something brand new, something that is freehold, because ultimately if it's freehold means you.
So Victor, is it really true that we do not have to pay a premium for a premium freehold property in this area?
So Joe, we have to pray very hard. We have to pray that the developers this time, right, they will be very lenient. They are very kind.
Mercy.
Yeah, to
Don't talk us.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they probably do this pricing at 3,002.
Yeah, please, 3001, 3002. I think we will be very happy already. Yeah, let's only look at a 3-bedroom resale in this area. You can see that even like for all these, right, the 3-bedroom are already hovering. Joe, take a look at the data carefully. Almost up to about 4 million and above already. Right?
Yes, correct. You probably need at least a near 4 million to enter freehold properties like Rivergate. And even if we look at the older 10 over years old Martin Place, Wharf Residence, you probably need about a 3.8 million to enter the 3-bed over there. Okay, so Victor, is it really necessary to buy freehold? Because a lot of the audience also feel no difference, right? Freehold and leasehold same.
I feel that it depends on the price. So today, right, if the freehold and the leasehold are of the same price, Joe, what do you think is a
Almost
better
the
choice?
same.
Almost
If
the
the
same.
gap is going to be very close, it may be worth looking
For
into
the
it.
freehold, you see. And ultimately, right, for freehold, it's like wine. The longer you keep, the better it will taste. And I think today, if we look across the different prime districts of Singapore, you find that, right, freehold only happens when it goes through an en bloc.
Which is really very difficult to go through a successful en bloc. In fact, if we will take a look at some of the core central region en bloc numbers, right? If any of this were to be going through, we are expecting easily the developer would have to be launching it at least 3,005 to 4,005 PSF. But a lot of the owners, of course, are not letting go of the freehold property. That's why today, Robertson Opus is the only freehold CCR launch in 2025. All right? So, will it really make sense to even take a position, right, in core central?
Like today, if you look at Bayshore, they're almost hitting about 3,000. So today, if we get a freehold right smack in the heart of the city at the same price, which one you think is a better, safer bet?
I love my core central.
Of course, me too. Because if the price is the same, I'd rather go for the...
So you're shifting to Robertson?
Yes, I'm working hard. I'm building up my capital right now.
And if your wife allows to, right?
Hopefully, I think she is. Yeah.
Okay, one last topic we want to take a look today is that property fundamentals. So what is called property fundamentals, number one?
We always look at the unit type. So if a property has too many 1 and 2 bedrooms, like Joe, tell me who will actually buy?
Singles? Investor?
Yeah. So do you think an investor will pay high or will they pay as low as possible for a property?
Likely low.
So if everybody starts to pay low, Joe, what will eventually be the overall pricing of this project? Will it go up or will it go down?
Low.
Yeah, so that's why, all right, we have to always go back at the fundamentals. The second thing, right, today if you look at Viva, say, right, how many units are there?
80 over units.
Yeah, and for such a project, right, all right, the thing is that when you have 2 little units, right, okay, you find that, right, it's very hard for the price to go up. You always have to look back at the unit type, you always have to look back at the number of units in the development, which will determine your overall capital growth.
Yes, truly. So actually one of the key thing about property fundamentals when we analyze a property is to actually look at if this product is what we call a consumption product. We're not talking about you literally consume your property, but as in, is this property suitable for stay? If one has to be staying in it. So, if today you're going to be staying in a condo, you will want a condo with good facilities so that you and your family can enjoy it. So when the land size is really a bit small, it's a bit sad now. If you go to the swimming pool, a person like him probably he do 3 strokes and then he's at the end of the swimming pool. So if we were to really take a deep dive right into this Vivace, and yes, it's very sad and it's unfortunate that some of them actually lost money and some of them spent a good 10 to 15 years of their good youth likely, and the property literally didn't grow, and that is because the 4 fundamentals, which is number 1, this product is designed more for investor. Number 2, the land size is really a little small, and the unit mix which is mainly made up of 1 to 2 bed, it appeal more to investor. And more importantly, right, if we were to take a look at the price gap at that point of time, which we have touched earlier on in this video, is almost easily 30%. Compared to now, the price gap is a mere 5%. And if we were to take at one last look, right, at this Vivace floor plan, which this person lost 180,000 from this property. What can you tell us about the space?
Wow, I think 2/3 of the space actually goes into the roof terrace.
Yes, correct. And same thing, sometimes it's easy to think like for the resale person who bought it, right, from the first owner, he'll be thinking that he bought it at a very low PSF and it's likely a good buy. But after holding a good 13 years, they have to sell at a loss of 180,000.
Oh man, but that's really sad, Joe. I myself don't invest.
So in conclusion, if today we were to take a look at the property fundamentals for Robertson Opus, I think a lot of the fundamentals have been met. Number one, in this project, you actually have 1 bed all the way to 4 bed. So whoever that is thinking of really having a 2 bed or 3 bed to stay over here is something really very feasible. The layout, if you choose the correct floor plan, some of them are really good. The land size, in fact, is one of the biggest in this area. And more importantly,
it's a price gap.
The price gap.
Yes.
Let's hope that the developer is going to give us a good pricing. At this point that we are shooting the video, we do not have the prices with us, but we will be glad to be in touch with any of you out there to have a deeper analysis where you should be placing your hard-earned money. And today, if you want a deeper analysis, do contact us at this contact above.
Thank you everyone for watching our channel. We hope that you have learned something from this video and do PM us for a free consultation. So see you guys.